Where everybody knows your name, everybody knows your name. Time to catch a flight, but you can make me go. Unlocking all the memories of my new home. Ventilated echoes playing to and fro, back and forth, yeah. Caught some kids dancing in the alleyway. Crazy how the melodies began to play, yeah. Tell me how you feeling when you hear the lyric, yeah. My heart's in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home. I left my heart in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home. Separate again. Sunlight that always stays in and by the waterway. NathanIvey.com. Mr. Ivey know the show must go on. And for Cincinnati, man, I put on. Tunes made another flame beat for me to cook on. Raised arms, close fists, yeah, too strong. Team AI, chop it up at the chop shop. Top notch, the king flow, the hot shot. Cop squats in, listen to the real. Jumping like hopscotch, nobody harder than, oh, no, think not. Not only citywide, but nationwide. Superlatives, keep it locked like them Haitian guys. Put the truth in the airways, we talk about it. Brand new like the 10th place, let's be about it. Who got the info by the AM? John will be the rapper, got them jamming when they play him. Staying in my lane, they ain't gotta okay him. Who the host with the scoop? Yeah, they gon' say him. Ivy, so superlative like a bag of drippos. Show you where the bricks at, Cincinnati Reds at. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at. It's the 5-1-3, yeah, you know the flow. What's the word, Nate? Let them know the show. One time where my people at. Team NI where my people at.
Perhaps getting ready for your last day of school before the holiday break, or maybe it's the last day of work before the holiday break. By a show of hands, I mean virtually, how many people are going to be traveling over the holiday break? I'll give you an update. I will not be broadcasting live tomorrow morning. Who's traveling? Perhaps something changed. I'll let you know. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. On today's show, I want to talk about numerous things. But the cover topic is a question. Is CPS testing students too much or not enough? Is Cincinnati Public Schools testing students too much or not enough? And joining this conversation, we've got people on both sides. We've got some reps from the CPS administration. They're going to Zoom call into the show. And then we've got some folks coming in from the CFT, the Cincinnati Federation of Teachers, and they are also prepared and planning to Zoom style call into the show, so we can get both sides of this conversation. A little bit of not even a little bit, but some controversy surrounding Cincinnati Public Schools, and all of our eyes, of course, are on CPS because it means so much. It means so much. You know, what happens at CPS is vital to the success of the city. Right? It's vital to building the city that everybody says they want. We shall see. We shall see what happens. Good morning to you. Let me throw my number up on the screen because you might want to give us a call this morning at 513-873-7134. That is my number. It's also a magical code that will grant you entry into a brand new world. It's called the Nathan Ivey Show, where nothing is funnier than the truth. Men are allowed to be men. We don't talk what's toxic masculinity. We don't use those phrases on the Nathan Ivey Show. And of course, lames get their plane shot down like John McCain. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, our first round of conversations and guests are scheduled to be at about 8:30 a.m. approximately. And then we got another round at 9:15 a.m. And so if that's something that you're interested in, stick around, or maybe you have to leave and come back. Maybe you can't even watch the rest of the show, but maybe you can check out the show later on. That's all good. Good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you're doing well. 513-873-7134. Carmelita writes, I don't like that they teach to a test. Yeah, there's a brand new round of testing that the teachers at CPS are, in some cases, being forced, as I understand it, to do at the threat of losing their jobs. That's what I've been told. Now, I don't know if it's true or not. That's what I've been told. I've been told that there are some CPS teachers who are like, you know what, why are we doing this? And that it's at the threat of the sword. You're going to do it, or we'll get somebody else that will do it. And I'm a CPS parent. I've got two children in CPS on both ends of the spectrum. I've been very critical of CPS, and I've also given CPS a lot of praise. I react to what I see. When they deserve praise, I give it. I don't hold back. When CPS deserves critiques, I give it. I don't hold back. I try to be consistent per my experiences. And testing is with students in public schools. I mean, that can be very political. That can be very political. That whole deal has a long history going way back, probably even before this, but maybe most notably in recent history, going back to the Bush administration and efforts to charter schools and privatize. I'm not sure that's what's at play here with CPS right now, but what I'm hoping is that we can get to the bottom of it this morning, or at least get more perspective on it. At the very least, we can get more perspective. Now, lift us up this morning. Please like and in particular share today's show, because when you share the show, more people see it. More people see it. Before you get to all of that, again, those conversations are going to start about 8:30 a.m. You got me, yours truly. And I want to give you some updates. These are things that are percolating around the internet. You know that this show was built for the internet. This is not a traditional talk show. If you've turned on your radio and you're expecting that on the internet, you're expecting the wrong things. This is the internet. We do things a little differently here. And I've built the Nathan Ivey Show to reflect that. So I want to give you some things that I want to talk about, a few things that people are talking about, starting with a tragedy in the family. Malika Shabazz, the daughter of Malcolm X, was found dead in an apartment. You heard about this? Her body was found by police inside of her residence on Monday. At this point, her death is not considered to be suspicious. And as I understand it, to this point, the cause of death has yet to be determined. Of course, Malika Shabazz is the daughter of civil rights leader Malcolm X, and she was 56 years old. 56 years old. And she made that transition that we are all going to make. I was just talking to somebody within the last 24 hours about that transition. We're all going to make that transition. But I would say rest in peace. I would say rest in peace. How many people have seen the movie King Richard? I plan to see the movie King Richard. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, King Richard is the name of a brand new movie. It's going to be out in theaters. I think it's out in theaters now and also on HBO Max, which I don't have, but I do have because of the Fire Stick. Shout out to the Fire Sticks. We winning. And it's all about the story of Serena Williams and Venus Williams, but really it's about the story of their father, aka King Richard. And I want to know how many people have gotten a chance to see this. I definitely want to see it. Will Smith is in the title role, and when you get Will Smith to play you, you know that's something serious. And let me see if I can put some cover art for you. I don't know. I just like I haven't seen the movie at all yet, and when I do, I'll give you a non-spoiler review. But I like the fact that this story is being told on the big screen. I like that. I like the fact that it surrounds a black father who helped his children become successful, and we forget about that. We love to shit on, excuse me. Lord forgive me for my brash delivery. We love to ish on black fathers in our culture. We love to ish on black fathers, but on the Nathan Ivey Show, we promote and rep black fathers because I'm a black father. That's why I'd be less than a man if I didn't do that. And I just can't wait to see this movie. I may make some time over the holiday to sit down and really watch it once I can get back in front of my fire stick. But Tracy writes, I'm halfway through it. Well, halfway through it, what do you think so far? Is it worth our time? That's how we judge things. Is it worth our time or not? I like to get your thoughts on it. But I want to see it. I want to see it because it's about this brother, and I don't really know a whole lot about him. And I want to see it because everybody knows Venus and Serena. And I want to see it for all of those reasons. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even be upset with like paying some money for it. Here's an image of from the movie. Look at Richard. Look at King Richard. Nothing wrong with that. They call black men kings when it comes to sports scenarios. But I don't know all the details of the story, but it appears to me that uh, Serena and Venus's father had to overcome a whole lot. You had to be a hell of a man in order to help them become the women that they are. And as a matter of fact, you may not know this, but both Venus and Serena are executive producers on this project. But as always, with everything on the internet, there is controversy. There's some controversy. Apparently, there was some controversy on Twitter. Someone tweeted their critiques of the movie without even seeing the movie, and then the internet reacted like, "Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up." And it happened to be a white female. Her name is Dr. Jessica Taylor. I don't know who she is, but I think she works in the world of, protecting women and things like that, which is very admirable. But she went on Twitter and she tweeted, did they seriously make a film called King Richard about the success of Serena and Venus Williams, but it's about their dad, Richard? And she probably didn't expect it, but she got hella pushback on that. I was reading through some of the comments and people came viciously. They came at her like it was Mortal Kombat. They were super vicious with it. And perhaps it was necessary. I'll read the comment again, then I'll flash on the screen for you. Did they seriously make a film called King Richard about the success of Serena and Venus Williams, but it's about their dad, Richard? Now, obviously, this woman, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert on the history of Serena Williams and Venus Williams and Richard Williams, their father. I'm no expert on it, but I know what I know, right? And what I know is that black man was very instrumental. It was through his will and his just, I ain't giving up, and this is what's going to happen no matter what. And also, the talent of his daughters that he saw that sparked a flame that gave the world Venus and Serena Williams. You know what I'm saying? That's what I understand. So where is sis coming from? What is she talking about? Did they seriously make a film called King Richard about the successes of Serena and Venus Williams, but it's about their dad? Yeah, they did. Because you don't get one without the other, sis. You don't get one without the other. She got absolutely roasted on Twitter. They roasted her ass, got some marshmallows, came back for more. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I would say that's exactly what she deserved, quite honestly, because she was coming across like real ignorant. Very, very ignorant. All kind of people was chiming in on this. And there were some people on the Twitter feed, even some black females, who was like, you know what, I thought the same thing. And I'd like to know what you thought. I'd like to know when you heard about King Richard, this movie, and it's really about the evolution of, well, I don't know what it's about because I haven't seen it. Like on the surface, of course, it's about Venus and Serena or Serena and Venus. But having not seen it and read reviews, it appears it's about the incredible struggle, the foresight, the genius of their father, Richard Williams, that helped to push them to where they are today. And I don't have a problem with that. We need more movies like that. I don't know how good the movie is. I haven't seen it. I'll watch it probably over the week, over the holiday break, and I'll report back to you as to how good it is or not. Is it worth your time or not? But just the premise of it, I'm here for it. Just the premise alone, I'm here for it. 100%. Why not? Now, of course, they don't look shit alike. Lord, forgive me for my brash delivery. Sorry about that. They don't look a damn thing alike, but Brittany writes, King Richard was a good movie. Now, Brittany, share with us without spoiling it. Does the movie focus on their father and his genius and his insight and his foresight and his will, his indomitable will to propel his children to where they are today? That's what it appears from the outside looking in, and I'm here for it. We need more movies like that. Gladys writes, love the movie King Richard. Saw it last night. Good family movie to watch, and I also love my Fire Stick. Tracy writes, great storyline. He made a lot of sacrifices. Great backstory on mom and dad. Right. So now we get the backstory on how Serena and Venus became what Serena and Venus became. I don't think it takes away from them. So what the hell is sis talking about? Dr. Jessica Taylor. Here's the quote. Did they seriously make a film called King Richard about the success of Serena and Venus Williams, but it's about their dad, Richard? Now, again, I don't know Dr. Jessica Taylor, just what I've been looking at since last night as I prepare for today's show. But it appears to me that she works in the world of like promoting the interest in protecting women. And that's admirable. We need that. But sometimes, no matter where you are, you can get so caught, you can get so caught up and so into your bag that you can't see anything else. And I wonder if that's what happened here. She's like, what about the womans? What about the womans? What about the women, right? And it's like, well, why does it have to be one or the other? It can be both. And again, for anybody who would have those thoughts like, well, why they making a movie about Serena and Venus ain't talking about they daddy? Serena and Venus, or Venus and Serena Williams, are executive producers on the project. So what does that mean? That means this is their vision. This is the story that they wanted to tell about their father from their perspective. If not, we'd have a situation where it's like an unauthorized movie, the family's not being involved, and they'd be doing interviews about it. So all the people out there, and I can only think of one person who's out here who on the Nathan Ivey Show has been talking big-ish about Serena and Venus not caring about their father. Wrong again, bro. Where you at, broski? Wrong again. It appears that Venus and Serena have a great relationship with their father. They're very fond of their father and think very highly about the sacrifices that he made, as all parents do for their kids to be successful. In a route in their journey to become what they became, which is, in terms of a sister duo, the most lauded, the most successful sister duo in all of tennis history, I would think. I can't think of any other sisters that have been as successful as Venus and Serena, and they just took turns with it. First, Venus was out here, and we thought she was everything. She the GOAT. Then Serena came through like, nah, sis, chill on that. I'm the new GOAT. And I loved it. I love seeing those black bodies dominating on the tennis courts. Be honest with you, I had no problem with it. I loved it. Yeah, buddy. Oh, this show is not for everybody. I tell you straight up. Not everybody's gonna appreciate what I have to bring. I get it. Come back when we talk about Marvel Comics. A little something for everybody, just not today. Nat writes, they say Sam Jackson should have played the role, not Will. Still got to check it out. Well, Nat, I don't doubt it, because Sam Jackson is the greatest black actor of our generation. It's not no Idris Elba. It's not no and Denzel Washington. It's Sam Jackson. He's the greatest actor. He's one of the greatest. He might be the greatest actor of our era. But you already know the white people are going to give it to Leonardo DiCaprio. We already know that. Some fucking Ben Afflecks. But Sam Jackson, man, who's more versatile and believable in roles than Sam Jackson? Nobody. When Sam Jackson was Obi-Wan, no, he wasn't Obi-Wan. When he was Mace Windu in the Star Wars trilogy, he was believable. You didn't see nobody but Mace Windu. When Sam Jackson played that character, I can't forget the character's name, in Pulp Fiction, you didn't see any other characters but what he played in Pulp Fiction. Sam Jackson is the greatest actor of our generation, hands down. So you're right, Nat. I'm sure he would have did a better job than Will Smith. I'm sure he might have. I was reading a critique from, I think it was The Undefeated, and that's like a sports podcast network, but they also do some print stuff. And they just ripped the movie to shreds. They said basically the acting was shit, and Lord forgive me for my brash delivery. The acting was ish, it was butt, and they said that they just trashed the movie basically. Said it didn't live up to expectations. I haven't seen it yet. But got a movie that shows a positive image of a black man sacrificing for his children. Critics want to dog it. Where have I seen this before? Ashley writes, good morning, Nathan and the Choppers. Good morning to you, Ashley.
Get to the choppers!
Nate. Sister V's in the house. She writes, heard the movie was awesome. Plan to see it tomorrow. So is there anybody who felt, and again, be honest, I mean, this is a safe space. Kinda. Sorta. Sometimes. A little bit. This is a safe space. And you could be who you really, it's a safe space. I mean, as long as you put your armor on now. Armor up. As long as you got some armor on, you'll be cool. Like I said, I swim with sharks and they all bite. This is the chop shop for a reason. They dice you, chop you up. Anyway, again, I can't wait to see the movie. Is there anybody who feels as if you felt the same way as this white female? They called her out on Black Twitter too, man. On Twitter. Ooh, she got roasted. I bet she was sitting back like, ooh, just taking body blows. Like, ooh, I feel that one. Ooh, I feel that one. They came for sis. They came for her. And for a good reason. She deserved it. Keep your mouth closed. Keep your biased opinion to your damn self. Why don't you? I'm looking at an image right now of an initial screening. And you got Will Smith standing right beside the actors and also Venus and Serena. They're right there. So Serena and Venus do not need you or anybody else to tell them who their daddy was. They know because they live with him. So I haven't seen it, but I think it's a tremendous story from what I understand. And I don't have all the pieces together, but I think Richard Williams should be applauded for what he did. Was he perfect? No. I seen an interview where he checked the hell out of a dude that was like trying to like grill, I think it was Serena. And he came over, he's like, didn't she already answer? She already answered you. Now, stop trying. He let him have it. I was like, go, dad, go. Go. You got to check people over your kids. You got to check people over your kids. Deshauna writes, good morning, Nathan and all. Good morning to you. Angela writes, good morning, Nathan and Choppers. Good morning to you. Queen Maxine writes, I respect the fact that he had to stand up the harshest system of racism and pushing his daughters at all to become the best of the best. As I understand it, he worked real hard to set up a professional coach for his girls, but the coach would only take Venus. So what did he do? He set up a video camera during the sessions with the pro, and then he took that knowledge and applied it to Serena. Now, if that ain't black magic, I don't know what is. I mean, sometimes genius can be the simplest of things. It can be simple. But all I know is that he created and helped to promote and push two of the greatest athletes of our generation and two of the greatest tennis players that tennis has ever seen. But we love to ish on black fathers, just like they ished on LeVar Ball. You know where I was going with it. Everybody has something negative to say about your boy right here is about LeVar Ball. He's talking too much. He's talking too much. He's putting a target on his son's back. He's just running his mouth. He wants to be the star. He wants to be the star. Even people in the chop shop, I'm calling you out. Don't get brand new now. I ain't going to let you. People had all this issue to say about that black man, and all he did was put 3 sons in the NBA. 2 of them were lottery picks. One of his sons was number 2. The youngest boy, rookie of the year, is a monster out there. And he got another son in the G League. Now, I'm not saying they split in the atom, but you're talking about an elite class of the best athletes on planet Earth. You got to get that up. You got to get that up. Yeah, people are saying that the movie is sexist. That's what they're saying. Essentially, they're saying that King Richard is sexist because you got these 2 black females that are 2 of the greatest athletes of their generation, Serena and Venus, but yet the movie is called King Richard. And I'm like, the only people that can see it that way, that's people that's deep in that bag. Like if you deep in your feelings about that kind of stuff, then you can see it that way. But I mean, why can't we have multiple movies that tell multiple stories? Somebody else can co-produce a movie called Serena and Venus or Venus and Serena. Until then, we got King Richard. Lemmy writes, good morning. Darlene writes, it was a good movie. Tiffany writes, good morning. Nikki writes, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Lemmy writes, I saw it. King Richard had a plan. And he worked his plan. Venus was the template for Serena to be the GOAT. Sounds like genius to me. Sounds like black genius to me. Black excellence. That's what I'm seeing. And we need more black excellence type movies. If it was a movie about dope dealing, everybody would think these people would have nothing to fucking say. It was the greatest dope dealing movie I've ever seen in my entire life. God forbid it be another slave movie. Just what we don't need in time for the holidays. Another slave narrative. Tiffany writes, the preview of the movie do not make me want to watch it. Maybe it's because Will playing the character. I'll still check it out. Yeah, it's something about the way he's talking, trying to imitate the syntax of Richard Williams that, I'm like, But they talk about Will might win a lot of golden Jesuses for this. That's what I call the Oscars and all these little award shows that people seem to covet so much. But it is what it is. I get it. Charles writes, Venus and Serena's wouldn't be who they are without Richard. Correctamundo. 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 Nat writes, I bet it was a white woman talking that ish. Can't stand for a black man to get his just due, shaking my head. Well, Nat, you actually are right. It is a white woman, or it was a white woman that was talking that ish about it. And I went to her YouTube, not YouTube, but her Twitter page, the whole 9 yards. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with sis? Why don't you go sit down and chill somewhere? Go sit down and chill. Dr. Jessica Taylor. Matter of fact, I got her YouTube channel up right now. Check it up. Not YouTube. I keep saying YouTube, but her Twitter feed is up right now. Hold on, let me see if I can get that for you. And we can put a face to the name. Name to the face. Check it out for yourself. There it is. Yeah. Dr. Jessica Taylor. They went super hard. They damn near went code red on her. They went super hard. I've got some comments here for you. Acho, who is a brother that used to be in the NFL, but now he's got a show on, I think it's Fox Sports 1. He wrote, number 1, stop looking for reasons to be mad. Number 2, Serena and Venus are producers and their thoughts matter most. Number 3, there's already a stigma of absent black fathers, yet you're upset about the presence of one because, right. Good points. You got a stigma about absent black fathers. Then you get this big movie adaptation about a story about a father who's uber present. As if that probably redundant. You can't be uber present in a child's life, right? You can't be too present. You got a story about a black man that's present in his child's life, his children's life. His children end up being 2 of the greatest athletes of a generation. And you got something to say? But again, I'm here for the conversation. Perhaps there's somebody else who feels like, you know what? If they're going to do any kind of story about Serena and Venus, it should be the Serena and Venus story. And then the father should be in the background. Does anybody feel that way? 513-873-7134. Now, don't be shy now. Don't be shy. I know you're out there. I know you're out there. Now, while you ponder these great matters of debate this morning, I want you to take a little bit of time to share this show on Facebook. Share it in groups, share it on pages. Hell, if you don't mind, share it on your page so all your friends and your family members and your colleagues and your haters can see what you're doing and the show that you're watching this morning. I won't say it's every morning, but this morning you're watching it. I appreciate you in advance. If you're in the mood to, damn it. Now, coming up, and these conversations are going to start about 8:30 a.m. Is CPS testing students too much? Okay. You got federal testing, you got state testing, and now you got these new tests that, again, if I'm wrong about this is CPS administration that is ordering this. But is there a reason behind it? Is it a good reason behind it? Or are we over testing Cincinnati public school students? Again, I've got people scheduled to Zoom into the show this morning from both sides of it to give us a well-rounded conversation about it. I am a CPS parent, so I'm very interested in anything that happens with CPS. Perhaps you are a CPS parent, and so you got some skin in the game. So stick around for that, or maybe come back for that later, whatever fits your schedule. Good morning to you. Good morning. Let me go inside the original Chop Shop. Fox writes, rise and shine, young stars. Good morning to you. Sharp writes, good morning, Nate. No, Fox wrote that. Sharp writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Ray writes, good risings all. Good morning to you, Ray. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see everybody. Hope you're doing well. Good morning to you. Anthony writes, morning, Chop Shops. Good morning. Cass writes, hey, Nate and the Choppers. What's up, Cass? Regina writes, good morning, blessings to all. Let me receive those blessings. I'll take them. Thank you. Queen Maxine writes, grand risings to all of the righteous seekers. Absolutely. Good to see you. Sister V's in the house. She writes, greetings, Nathan and the Choppers. And then we got the lip emoji is back. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. David writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Joe's in the house. Good to see you, Joe. He writes, grand risings, Nate and the Choppers. Good morning to you. Trey writes, good morning. Good morning to you. Gladys writes, good morning, Nate and the Choppers. Beautiful Tuesday. It is a beautiful Tuesday. I got it in, family. I got it in. I'm not back to 100%. I don't know what's going on. So a lot of stuff going on right now. But cardiovascular wise, I'm getting it in every day. Yo writes, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I walk from Clifton downtown using Sycamore Hill. I love Sycamore Hill. I've conquered at this point. At first, it was a challenge. Now it's not as much of a challenge. I'm looking for a greater challenge. If anybody knows of some really good hills in Cincinnati to walk, let me know. Hit me with a direct message. I'm down for it. Carmelita writes, I don't like that they teach to test. I think I read that already. Nat writes, good morning. Or right, good Tuesday, Choppers. Good morning to you, Nat. Crutha writes, good morning, Choppers. Good morning to you, Crutha. Yeah, we're talking about King Richard. Some people are saying that it's sexist. And it doesn't make any sense because Serena and Venus are executive producers. I got a picture right here in front of me of Will Smith, who is he's looking like he's slimmed down, he's working out. He's got a YouTube series called I don't know, he's like getting back in shape. Like Will Smith is going through this whole thing right now where he's like going deep inside himself. You know, he's revealing that he feels like he failed every woman in his life. And I'm like, damn, that's some deep ish right there. Like, brother's getting deep in his bag when he's going back and thinking about the different relationships that he's had with women. And I've done the same thing. There was a point in my life, I mean, it was many years ago, where I thought about the women who I had interactions with. And I asked myself, what kind of man was I? I think that's a normal thing as you get older. I think it's just a normal thing. Will's like 50 plus or something like that. Still looks great. He's dirtly dyeing his hair, but he still looks great. Here's a photograph I was talking about. So how can the movie King Richard be criticized as being sexist when Serena and Venus are executive producers on a project? You got Serena standing next to the actress that portrays her in the movie, And you have Venus standing next to the actress that portrays her in the movie. I'm loving all of this right here. I love all of this, except for that ensemble, that shirt that Will has on. I don't know if it's the shirt or the tie. It actually kind of strangely goes together. It's got this whole like tiger shark motif going on. It's got this coral reef thing going on, but he's Will Smith. I'm not. I'm sure there's a lot of people that spend a lot of money getting him prepared every day. So what do I know, right? What in the hell do I know? Serena don't look too bad right there, do she? You know, I've been critical of Serena with all that fake ish she been doing to herself. Natural, 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 and then a little more natural, and then sprinkle some more natural on there.
You're not natural, baby. I see you got that perm in there. I still love you. You're gorgeous, but you're not nappy. You got to be nappy, baby. You got to be nappy.
If you're not going to listen to me, listen to Omar Johnson. Got to be nappy, baby. If that's what you want to say. Oh, my God. I'm going to hell. But as long as there's an internet, and speaking of which, it looks like at least for the next 3 years, the internet is going to be safe because Joe Biden has now put two Democrats. He put a Democrat to be the permanent head of the FCC, right? And the woman that he put in charge has been a big vocal proponent of net neutrality. Now, I know I'm not going into a tangent right now because I'm going to bore the hell out of you, and I don't want to leave you. I don't want to lose you. There's nobody's net neutrality. I don't care about no damn no. Well, net neutrality, net neutrality, right? I get it. But let's just trust me. If you're a creative person that uses the internet, or you're an entrepreneur or business owner that use the internet, you should be in favor of net neutrality. Trust me on this. Trust me on this. So at least for the next 3 years, hopefully Congress will pass something to permanently enshrine net neutrality in law as a public utility, which it is, and then take the ownership away from companies like Comcast. Ooh, evil Comcast. They're pro net neutrality, but maybe we'll do another show on that sometime soon. Let's go to I thought we had a call. I was going straight to you. I think it was Brother Drop. Always good to hear from him. Again, I just want to remind you, if you're just tapping into the show, at some point this morning, we're going to shift the conversation. And I want to answer these questions. I mean, is CPS testing students too much or not enough? Another round of bi-weekly testing for CPS students. Is that the proper prescription? What's behind all of this? Is this good for students? Does testing equate to student achievement? You know, as I sit here right now, I'd say no, it doesn't. But I want to hear what people have to say. So come back at 8:30. It's only 15 minutes from now. And tap into the conversation. Good morning to you. Queen Maxine writes, I haven't seen it yet, but I plan to. I think I may have read that already. Let me push forward a little bit. Let me push forward. As I'm pushing forward, let's take a phone call. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
To also known as the Black Not Democrat. How are you, sir?
Why you sound different?
Because I'm messing with you. What's up, Mr. Ivy?
Oh, okay. I was like, what the hell?
Wake up, choppers.
I'm fully woke, bro. Good morning.
Oh,
How
okay.
you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good. Mr. Ivy, you brought up net neutrality. Boy, oh boy. What happened to that? You got the Democrats in charge, and you talking about they might pass net neutrality. Really?
Not pass. but
well,
support it, because your Democrat brethren, they decided to go with the big technology companies over the little guy.
Well, maybe the mayor-elect Aftab can bring net neutrality to the city of Cincinnati. You think that's possible?
To bring, I don't know. I think
that yes, you guys can control your own cell towers.
I don't know. But that's not about cell towers. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure if that would be a city issue or if it would be a state issue. I'm not sure.
Well,
I do know that it's a federal issue, and that's why the FCC has full control over it. So we'll see what they do in the next week or two. Or next couple of months.
Well, obviously that ain't why I call.
Right.
My call is, for one, to ask you, do you think that the coverage of the mass murderer / domestic terrorist Dale Brooks in Waukesha, Wisconsin, the guy who mowed down kids, old people at a Christmas parade on I think that was Friday or Saturday. Do you think that the coverage so far has been fair and equitable as far as this type of mass murder, mass killing by a person of color toward a obviously predominantly white victims, because they haven't really released a lot of the victims' identity?
Well, to answer your question directly, I really can't speak on it. I haven't seen a lot of the coverage, to be honest with you.
Okay, so
Not a lot.
that kind of answers the question right there. Because again, I'm talking about being fair and balanced, Mr. Ivey. You know how I roll. And again,
But
I
you're not
point
fair
the
and balanced.
finger. I point the finger at the mainstream media again. But see, again, Mr. Ivey,
Why?
they because the way they treated the Kyle Rittenhouse case as a black issue when there were no black people involved, and then when you do have an actual case involving a black man that has serious mental issues, Mr. Ivey, plus he was out on bail, and that's a whole nother discussion. And I'm just saying, Mr. Ivey, it is just our media is just, it's just sad the way they cover stories based on the way the victims or the perpetrator looks. It's just not right.
Yeah, but the media
Black
been
people
doing that
need
since
to
the beginning
hear.
of media, though. This ain't nothing new.
But
That's what the
Mr.
media
Ivey,
does.
but after coming off of 4 years of the media really doing their job, some people might say a little too much, when they covered the last president and his administration and the country in which he was the leader, they should do the same now, Mr. Ivey.
I don't understand
But
what you're
they're
talking
not.
about.
It is.
You're losing me,
I'm
brother.
talking about. Okay, I'm talking about the coverage of events that happen in this country and how everything is politically driven. Okay, and it's about political power. So when you're in power, the media covers in a certain way. When you're out of power, that coverage changes.
Are you whining and
Now,
complaining about the coverage that Trump got?
Mr. Ivey, in our Constitution, freedom of press is there for a reason.
Right.
Because they have to present the true issues to the people and let the people decide in a democracy who elect officials to go and sign and pass laws and put rules and regulations on the American people.
Okay, where are we going with this? What's your point, sir?
Where I'm going, Mr. Ivey, all I ask you as a member of the black media, a member of new black media,
right,
a member of a person who is on a medium that is fairly new to our culture. Okay. And you constantly kept saying YouTube. You need to bring this story up. That should have been at least a mention in your monologue at the beginning.
So
just to put the story out there, because some people may not, because some people may not even know what happened at that Christmas parade and the people that are involved. I think it's important.
Oh, okay.
To the black community, when you have a black perpetrator who could be suffering from mental issues, his story needs to be told, not to glorify what he did, but to, as Kamala says, our vice president, get to the root causes. Why would a black man feel compelled to go drive through a crowd of a bunch of white people at a parade with intent to mass murder people? I think that's an issue in the black community that needs to be addressed.
I don't know if it's an issue in the black community.
I'm not saying
it is an interesting question per the circumstances. This is a question that people want to know. I want to know. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I wonder if mental illness does play a role. But this ain't some big question for the black community, at least as I see it. But here's the thing about that, though, Dre.
Well, but the Kyle Rittenhouse was an issue.
Well, for some people, yeah, it was an issue. Yeah.
How? There were no black people involved.
Well, are you trying to say that race wasn't involved?
No, race was not involved in the Kyle Rittenhouse case.
And was it a Black Lives Matter protest?
What?
I said, Kyle Rittenhouse. Was it a Black Lives Matter protest demonstration that he showed
No,
up
the
at?
shit happened at Mr. Ivey. The shit happened at night. It was no protest being held. It was people looting, people burning down buildings. You had private citizens protecting their property, armed, exercising their Second Amendment right because the local law enforcement decided not to protect property. So again, no, there were no protests happening at the time when Kyle Rittenhouse shot those 3 men.
So the protest.
You saw the video,
Mr.
Mr. Ivey.
And Kyle Rittenhouse.
You saw the video.
Happened in the evening, so it was in effect the same thing. But go back to your question.
There were no
I'm
black.
not trying to argue. That's your bag. I'm not trying to argue which is the bigger story to Black America. What I will say is the great thing about a show like this is I put the number out there, and just like you did when you called in and you brought this up, people can do that any day at any time. So if you feel like, as you do, if you felt like this story with Darrell Brooks Jr. is a big story,
Darrell Brooks,
and talk about it, which you're doing right now.
Okay, I appreciate you, Mr. Ivey, and again, that's why I love your show.
But I don't think it's some great issue for Black America, though. I don't see what that is yet. I mean, let's see what happens. You're adding this.
But Mr. Ivey, all I said at the beginning of my call, and sometimes you do this. I'm not saying you do it intentionally, but you are a professional at what you do. You take away from the initial point that I brought up, and that's the fair and balanced coverage of these events, whether the victims are Black or white, and whether the perpetrators are Black or white.
You still didn't explain, because sir, of how it's unbalanced. You haven't explained that. What is the media not saying that you think they should be saying?
Come on, Mr. Ivey, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. That's why you taking a little time to think about it.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you, if you know the case of what happened at that parade over the weekend, okay, there was a similar case that happened in Charlottesville in 2017 when the people were leaving a protest rally and some crazy ass fool drove through a crowd of people and killed that white girl.
A white.
You remember the coverage on that story?
Yeah, I do that. I do.
But do you remember? Yeah. Okay. So I'm telling you, the coverage was different. My point is fair and balanced coverage so the people can be informed with accurate information. I know you don't want to understand it.
No,
you don't want to understand it. That's fine.
You don't understand
That's fine.
So if you don't understand it, how the hell I'm going to understand it?
Oh, okay. So now we heading down that road.
If you did, you'd be able to succinctly put it out there. It would make more sense. You talking about other stuff. It don't really make any sense. It sounds like you just want the media to talk more about it. Is that correct, sir?
What you think, Mr.
I'm
Genius?
thinking I'm right.
As you insult my intelligence again. This is where you always go, Mr. Ivey.
What your beef
is. This is where you always go. You don't need to whittle down nothing.
Sir, you cannot.
You asked me,
sir. You cannot. When it comes to this case about this unfortunate incident with
say his name. Say his name.
I'm just saying his name. His name is Darrell Brooks Jr.
He's a cold-blooded mass murderer / domestic terrorist. That's debatable. But the man is a mass murderer and he's Black. Okay. All I'm saying is
murder is a legal term, and at this point, he's not gone to trial. But I hear what you're saying, though. I understand the point you're trying to make.
But wait. Hold up.
If they weren't reporting on the story, you wouldn't know about it. So you can't
see. Here we go again.
The media isn't reporting on it because if you Google his name right now, it is. There's more links to the story than people have time to actually click on the links. So the media is reporting on it.
But who's
I'm trying to figure
putting
out
the story
what else
to the people?
Here?
To the people, Mr. Ivey, the owner operator of Sin Digital Media. You have the opportunity to put the story out, but it wasn't in your monologue. It wasn't in your monologue today. You didn't talk about it yesterday.
Right.
5 people lost their lives, and this baby's in the hospital now clinging to life because of this Black man who drove through a crowd of people. And you asking me, well, what they covering it, they talking about it.
I'm asking you
See,
what's missing, and you can't
all I
explain it.
do is put it out there.
So
All I do is
basically,
put
you
it
want
out
me
there,
to,
Mr. Ivey.
because it's a black man, you want me to come on and criticize the black man. That's what it is.
I didn't say that.
That's what it sounds like.
I said cover the story the same way as if Daryl Brooks was white, because they keep saying if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, certain things would happen.
Oh, I get it. I get it. You on that BS.
If Daryl Brooks was white,
oh, you playing that
and those
game.
people at the parade were black. See, all I'm saying is keep it even. Do it both ways, Mr. Ivey.
I don't know what you're
fair
talking
and
about.
balanced.
I hear what you're saying.
Fair and
I think
balanced.
you're making a larger point, and it's not necessarily.
No,
about
you're
this
not.
show.
You knew what I was saying.
But
You knew what I was saying when I first told
this brother. I'm glad.
All right. Well, thank you for taking my call, Mr. Ivey. You have a good day. And all the choppers, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Drop Squad 52, dropping science to anyone who wants to fact check it. Peace out. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, same to you, brother. Happy Thanksgiving. That's Drop Squad from all the way from California. I love that brother. Don't get it twisted. I love me some Drop. Y'all already know that's my man right there. He holds me down. He supports this show, but I'm not sure what he wanted me to say. It sounds like he's like play the what if he was white game and the what if he was black game. But the rhythm of this show, the rhythm of this show is not necessarily headlines. Okay, so maybe that's a mistake on my part, or maybe it's not. I don't know. But the rhythm of what we talk about is not just what's in the headlines. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. We do our own thing here. And I don't know what Drop wanted me to say. We got Daryl on the line. Hey, Daryl, call me back, brother, because as I said, we're about to take the conversation in a different direction. Here's the cover art for today's show. Is CPS testing students too much or not enough? There's a new round of testing that CPS students are going to have to deal with. And as I understand, there's a little bit of controversy, maybe more than that, in terms of how some teachers in CPS are reacting to it, and also CPS administration. Now, I'm a CPS parent. I said it again. I said it before. I'll say it again. I've got children on both ends. I've got a first grader and an 11th grader, right? So I got one that's on her way out, and I got one that's on his way in, right? So I'm invested on both ends of it. So anything to do with CPS, you already know we on top of it as much as we can be. And to that effort, I want to invite some people into the show real quickly, but I want to make sure that I do it properly. Hold on one second here. I want to introduce to everybody so you know who you're talking to and you know who's actually talking. I think that's kind of important. Hold on, here it is right here. I want to make sure I get it. So we've got Jonathan Dale Brown, who currently serves as the interim assistant superintendent. I want to bring that brother straight on. Good morning, brother Brown. How are you?
Good morning, brother Nathan Ivey. Listen, it is a pleasure to be on your show again. Congratulations for the NAACP award that you just recently received. It is an honor to be here today.
Thank you so much. Well. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. We also got Dr. Dawn Williams, and she is the curriculum manager of mathematics. We got Dawn as well. Good morning to you, Dawn.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to be here today.
Absolutely. I'll just say Dr. Dawn. You know, we work hard to get these degrees. I want to respect it. Dr. Dawn. Most definitely. We also have Emily Campbell. She's a director of curriculum and instruction as well. How you doing, Emily? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm good. It's awesome to be on here today.
Oh, absolutely. Look at us. We all together. This is nice. And everybody sounds and looks good. So can you hear me? I think everybody can hear me. Is that correct? Okay, great. So let's dive into it. Again, I'll just start this way. Is CPS testing students too much or not enough? And again, Mr. Brown, I want to start with you on this to kick us off the conversation. Tell us what's going on as it relates to this new round of testing with CPS. And we got a lot of CPS parents and concerned community members in the audience. So tell us what's going on. What's new?
So, Mr. Ivey, let me just first of all kind of change the narrative of our conversation when you talk about testing. So you have, first of all, I'm a graduate of Cincinnati Public Schools from kindergarten through 12th grade, South Avondale, straight to Woodward High School. So I'm very thankful of Cincinnati Public Schools, and my two children are graduates of Cincinnati Public Schools. And so we are vested in Cincinnati Public Schools. And so, but let me go back and try and change the narrative. We're using the word testing, and I want to talk about assessment of learning and assessment for learning. Assessment of learning are those kids go to school for years or weeks or months, and then there's a end of the year test. There's a third grade assessment test. There is a SAT or ACT test that will determine what college you may be able to get into, a third grade test to determine if you're going to move to the fourth grade or not. There are AP advanced placement tests. Those are assessment of learning. Those are what we would consider summative learning, summative test. But what we're talking about is assessment for learning. And so these are assessments that are given every 2 weeks, not to grade, but let me give you the goals. First, it shares and provides information to students so that they know exactly where they are. It provides, and so because we want student ownership as it pertains to learning. Every student needs to know where they are. Secondly, it provides information to parents. And so parents then, as you with the first grader and 11th grader would be able to use this information, and so that you would be able to accurately or effectively help your child wherever they might be at home. Third thing it does, it provides teachers with information about where the child is at that current time. And then that information can be shared with other teachers as it pertains to the instructional strategies, because they're using the same assessment for learning. And so now they're looking at the data and they're saying, okay, this strategy worked with my kids. What strategy did you use? And then fourthly, it could be used, the assessment for learning can be used to alter instruction to meet the need of every child. That's where we want to hang our hat at, because that is the information that is so pertinent to making sure that every child need is being met. Now, as I attended the NAPSE conference just last week, that's the National Association of Black School Educators. One of their foundational pillars is that education is a civil rights issue. We believe this to be a civil rights issue. We believe it to be a social justice issue, where every child in every classroom need is being met. And so we're so thankful because the other thing about the 2-week assessments is that they are aligned to the curriculum. And so now teachers don't have to go and create the assessments. They're already provided. So that saves some time. And then where there is a need for additional support, professional development, we are willing to provide that as well. And we're offering that professional development as well. But we just believe that this is not a testing question, but this is a teaching and learning issue, not testing, because they're the state mandates test. These are assessments where when utilized appropriately, as a child, as a student in Cincinnati Public Schools, I know that the information that's going to be provided for me is going to be tailored to meet my particular need, and so that I can have student growth, and then I can also have ownership in my learning. So, thank you so much for that question.
Okay, so again, we've got Dr. Brown, who's just speaking. We got Dr. Williams and Emily Campbell. So, okay, back to you, Dr. Brown. I want to try to figure this out. So has these 2-week assessments, have they started yet?
So the 2-week assessments actually started last year. They were written and prepared last year in both English language arts and mathematics last school year. They were created by teachers, with input by teachers, scheduled with teacher input, piloted by teachers as well. And this year, because we've been in COVID, we understand that we have a great deal of learning loss. We know it. And as a result of our learning loss, we want to accelerate learning. In other words, we want high expectations for every child in every classroom. And so that just simply means that we are asking that the grade level instruction be provided for every student. And so this year we're just monitoring the results of the 2-week assessments that should also provide us with information regarding how students will do on assessment of learning tests that come at a later date as well.
Okay. So I want to make sure I clarify. I mean, you're using the word assessment. I use the word testing. I may drill down a little bit later and try to figure out, are we splitting hairs here? Is there a difference between the two? But first I want to know, you said, so have the assessments been administered? The administration of the assessments were done last year or this school year?
So they were done, actually, they were created last year. In some schools, they were piloted last year. This year, we started those assessments in September of this school year with the understanding that we would monitor the implementation and provide professional development as we move forward. And so it's been a 2-year cycle.
Okay. And what is the cycle for? Will it continue for the rest of the school year? When does the assessment cycle end?
So we've made, I love your questions. They are going to go on until the end of the year as teaching and learning takes place every day in every classroom in every school. We've made some compromises with the assessments. For example, we know that there's a third grade testing that's going to be coming up. One was in October, and there will be another one in March or April, I believe. And so during those particular times, the 2-week assessments can be set aside. When there are state assessments, we will not hold people accountable for the 2-week assessments so that we are maximizing instruction. And so there have been some compromise and some flexibility as it pertains to the 2-week assessments.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure this all out. And so CPS students are already dealing with state assessments. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Or testing, mandated testing. Is there federally mandated testing as well that CPS has to deal with?
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm trying to figure out how useful this is to me as a parent. So I'm already getting the state mandate. I'm getting the federal mandate. I'm getting the midterm. I've got teacher conferences. I've got the finals. What is this assessment going to give me as a parent that I don't already have?
So that's a great question. And so here that's a really good question. As a former principal, as a former teacher, I always wanted to know where my students were before those tests came. And what those assessments do is provide you with a blueprint of where your students currently are so that you can alter the instruction to meet the need of that particular student, because you don't want to go into an assessment, a game, without a game plan. And so now what happens is that at the end of the fourth quarter, you don't want to guess how many of your students you think will be proficient on the state assessment. You don't want to guess as a 12th grader if you're going to earn enough credits to graduate. You don't want to guess. And so you want to have a blueprint. And the blueprint would be these 2-week assessments that will provide the teachers, students, parents information in terms of where their students' strengths are, where some of the weaknesses are, and then how we can alter the instruction to meet the needs of every student. Because the same students that are performing well at one school should receive the same type of instruction at another school. So we just simply believe that your zip code should not determine how far you go in life. We have these two principles that we believe that that teachers have the greatest impact on student performance. We believe we have good teachers in Cincinnati Public Schools, and so let there be no debate about that. And then we also believe that principals have the greatest impact on teachers. And so the expectations, the culture that's set at that school is a team effort. So that every student has an opportunity to go anywhere from Cincinnati Public Schools. And so we believe that if you're a graduate, if you go to South Avondale, you should have the same high expectations as if you go to Fairview or Hyde Park or Walnut Hills or any other school. And so we are just excited about the opportunity to ensure that all of our students are learning at high levels.
Yeah, I mean, I think your last statement is something that anyone involved with CPS wants. I'll be honest with you, I'm still not sure that another level of assessment or testing, and we're going to have to square that because I don't understand what the difference is between that. Is it just semantics? From where I sit, Dr. Brown, it just sounds like semantics. A test is an assessment. An assessment can be a test. I don't understand what the difference is. We got to square that. But you were talking about the teamwork. And I agree, the teamwork makes the dream work. It's come to my attention that there are some teachers inside of CPS who don't believe in this assessment. They feel like it's the wrong time and the wrong plan for various reasons. I'm sure you're aware of this. And if it's such a good idea, then why are there CPS teachers who will be responsible in administering the assessment against it?
So the work that we're doing is embedded in research. That if you look at any high performing schools, any high performing district, and we call those, some of those schools 90-90-90 schools, 90% free and reduced lunch, 90% that are disadvantaged and 90% of students that are of color. Several things take place in those schools. One is that you have high expectations. Two, you have grade level instruction. Three, you have ongoing assessments. Four, you have teacher collaboration. Five, you have principals providing feedback to teachers. And then six, you have a culture of high expectations for everybody. That's research embedded. And so I can't argue. I'm not going to argue with the research. And I know your question was around teachers and how some may not support. But I believe, again, that being a former principal, being a former teacher, being in a district where we see Evanston Academy earn a National Blue Ribbon Award for having the same practices, where we see a Wim Howard Taft that had the highest third grade scores in reading and math, a school that was slated to close, rise to the level of high expectations. I just believe that sometimes you don't have to agree with it. You can believe in the data, and we just want to make sure that we change your behavior so that you can come on board, because research is there and the results speak for themselves. And we just want to make sure that all of our students are successful.
I appreciate you guys coming on. I think that Dr. Dawn is having some issues and she's going on and off. And Emily, feel free to jump in at any point. And again, I don't want to come across as combative. I'm just trying to understand. And when things don't line up to me, I just have to say that. So you said there's research behind it. So you're saying there's research that says that a series of assessments or tests,
ongoing assessments,
right, leads to student achievement,
leads to teachers altering the instruction to meet the need of every student, and so that every student can learn where they are. Yes, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, but you kind of changed what I said to say. Well, my question is I haven't seen any research that suggests, and I haven't seen all the research, I'm just one guy, but I've never seen any research that says that a series of tests or assessments has a direct impact on accelerated learning or student achievement. I've never seen that. And you brought up the case of the schools, I think it's in Avondale, and
Evanston.
they were excellent before this assessment was put in place. Isn't that correct?
Well, that was a part of why they were
Okay.
Excellent, is what I'm trying to share with you. So they could not be, so they had data team meetings weekly. And so they could not be successful without ongoing assessments. And I think we're saying the same thing, Brother Ivy, that this is, and if you're looking for research, you can go to Rick Stiggins, and we can send you some research around assessment of learning and assessment for learning, because it does make a difference. It really does make a difference.
But it makes a difference, and I'll trust you on that. But going back to my question about teachers, what's come to my attention is there were a significant amount of teachers in CPS that pushed back on this, and they pushed back on it so strongly that the district basically said, "Listen, you're gonna do this, or here's the chopping block." And I'm like, wow, that's a strong statement from the teachers who are on the front line, who in some cases are now being threatened with even perhaps termination. Is that correct?
Well, now that's a very good question. Now, let me just say this: we are not in the business of firing teachers, because there's a shortage of workers everywhere. We would be foolish to want to get rid of teachers. And so that's a false narrative. But let me give you the real narrative. The real narrative is that this has been put out, and we had about 70 to 70% of schools submitting the 2-week assessments. And we were looking at those. And so again, here's what happens. They look at the 2-week assessments at a grade level, at a school. They look at it across each each grade level. That grade level then talks to other teachers. Then principals talk about that same data so that they can learn strategies from other principals within the district. The district then looks at that same data so that we can provide additional supports and professional development for those schools that may be having some difficulty. And we were marching in the same direction. And then about around September, October, there was some pushback from the CFT that began to send letters out to teachers telling them directly not to do the 2-week assessments. Before that letter, there was great participation. And since that letter, or those sequential letters from CFT, we've had a drop in, or a decrease in the participation. And so we just said, listen, we want to support you. We want to provide you with professional development. But I think it's very detrimental for students, very detrimental for all of us that are involved, if you have individuals in an organization that will be able to tell their direct supervisors what they will and won't do. And so there's no chopping block unless people, our message again is that we want to work with everybody, and we want you to do the work that you were hired to do.
Right. So there's no chopping block unless you don't give the test. And again, I get it. If you work for an administration or whatever, and they say, listen, this is what we want you to do, and you don't do it, there's going to be consequences. But I just thought it was interesting because from what you're saying, it sounds plausible, kind of. But then I'm like, well, if the teachers are on the front line, who would know better in terms of the best way to spend their time with the students than the teachers who are with the students every single day? So,
and that's why I started out with, that teachers had input in the creation of the 2-week assessments, had input in the not only the creation of the 2-week assessments, but also the scheduling of the 2-week assessments, had input in terms of the alteration of the assessments as well. Dr. Williams, can you just share with us exactly how the 2-week assessments came about in mathematics over these past 2 years?
Yes, sir. So and there's some feedback. I'm not sure. Thank you. So what we did, our teachers actually built our 2-week cycle assessments using our adopted curriculum. So they were generated by teachers. Our teachers looked at those big standards of each grade level. We took those back to our math curriculum council. The math curriculum council looked at those. They looked at our schedule. We have sent out surveys to make sure that our teachers were sharing this journey. It wasn't a top-down journey, but it was a math department journey. So they have been with us throughout the way. We just concluded a survey last month. And quickly, what I want to really go back to is the difference between this testing notion and assessment. 2-week cycle assessments, this is a best practice that all teachers nationally do every single day. What we have done is just formalize this process. What we want to make sure, and it is a social justice issue, we want to make sure that every student in every seat has an opportunity to receive high quality instruction using standards aligned curriculum. And so we are focusing on administering the test, but what we should be focusing on is the result. We recognize that a lot of students have unfinished learning from the last 2 years, and every student walked in their door, they came where they were. And so it's our responsibility to accelerate their learning. We can't accelerate their learning if we don't know where they are. So what this assessment really does, it says, I know where every student in every seat in my classroom is. And once I know that, I know exactly what supports they need. And then I am monitoring and celebrating their growth with them every 2 weeks.
Okay. You said, okay, so accelerate the learning. Okay. So again, I'm just stuck on, do I really believe that there's a link between a whole bunch of assessments and accelerating learning? Because I don't even need an assessment to tell you. I think we could all say that coming out of COVID, student achievement, them test scores going to be down because the kids was broken their routine. We already know that. So I'm just trying to figure out, do I really believe that another round of testing is going to help my children achieve? And I'm on the fence about it. Because they're already gotten a whole bunch of tests. So here's my question for you, Dr. Williams. What's the impetus behind the testing, this new round of 2-week testing now? Like, why is this being put in place right now?
I think you're going to stay on that fence if you keep calling it testing. Because as a parent community, when we think of tests, we think, oh, this is that end of course assessment. This is how the district gets their report card. This is really, in layman's terms, checking for understanding. So I am making sure that, and I'm not testing everything. I am looking at these big standards to make sure that all of our students, when they finish this grade, that we know that all of our students have a deep understanding of these big bucket standards that we can begin to build knowledge the year and years after. If we do not monitor, our kids can leave the school year and everybody has a different, I might know a little bit about this and a little bit about that. We want to make sure that we are laser focused. That's why we talk about accelerating learning with surgical precision. We want to make sure that when kids leave in May, we know that these 4 or 5 big power standards that everybody knows. And the only way we're going to make sure they know that is by monitoring their growth over time. So it's not testing for what we all know what testing is. It is I'm checking for understanding every 2 weeks to make sure they know these high level standards. So, and kids also know they can see the progress. So we're celebrating with students. So it's not state testing. I'm checking for understanding to make sure that I know that every kid in every seat is growing every 2 weeks. And if we don't monitor that progress, there might be that student in the back of the class that never grows.
So I still don't understand the difference between testing and assessment. I mean, isn't a test checking for understanding? I know when it's coming from the state and the federal level, that might be attached to funding and other mandates. So I get that. But for all intents and purposes, an assessment and a test are the same thing, right? Is it just me? It can't just be me. I mean, for all intents, for all practical purposes, a test and an assessment are essentially the same thing. Am I correct in that?
Can I take a stab at it?
Go right ahead.
Okay. So I liked Dr. Williams' phrase of check for understanding. What we're trying to do is use a variety of assessments to understand what students know and are able to do on a frequent basis so that we can then adjust our instruction. And so in some cases that might be an assessment that's like a 5-question multiple choice assessment, and a teacher can dig into that with fellow teachers and look at what are the various ways our children are approaching this, what are the various misconceptions, and then in the next 2 weeks we can figure out strategies to address that. An assessment might not be a multiple choice multiple choice questions. It could be an essay that students are demonstrating a culmination of knowledge that they've been acquiring. It could also be what we call a Socratic seminar, where students, after they have been digging into learning all about frogs, they're ready to discuss and dialogue it. And so, Dr. Williams might say something about frogs that she's learned, and I might want to add on to that. So it's also can come in the form of observation. I think the testing, the high stakes testing that we would all agree we don't want to add more on students and teachers in that realm. That is summative, can take more than one day, and really does take from instruction. The assessments that we're referencing are actually, we've identified it as part of the teaching and learning cycle. So even when children are being assessed, that is still a teaching and learning moment.
Okay. So that's it's just not computing for me, folks. But I hear what you're saying, Emily. I really appreciate you. Again, I don't want to come across as combative at all. This is a really, really serious topic, and I'm searching for understanding. And here's a question for Maurice. He wants to know, ask what time are these teachers going to have to give these assessments? You kind of spoke to that, Emily, because I know that was an issue with some of the teachers. And even as a parent, you're concerned about the time, the instruction time being taken away from by tests and assessments. So isn't that the same thing? I mean, you kind of spoke to it, not kind of, you spoke to it and you said that it's an assessment and teaching at the same time, but that's not the same as instructional time, is it?
Yeah, so we define teach, like the actual instruction, as more than just directive, a teacher standing and like giving new information to kids. We think of instruction as a cycle where, sometimes it's a teacher who is giving new information to children. Sometimes it's children who are digging into new information and practicing on their own. And sometimes it is students who are independently showing what they know. And that's that checking in for understanding stage. That's the assessment stage where teachers are really looking to see what are the misconceptions, how are children approaching this new knowledge, and what might I need to do in the upcoming 2 weeks to circle back and move forward at the same time. And so it's really a cyclical a cyclical process in instruction itself.
Okay. Do the teachers really have time to circle back and recalibrate based upon the assessments of individual children? I mean, I keep hearing that there's not enough time. There's not enough time. We're teaching them the test. We're teaching them the test. That's what I keep hearing. Oh, a lot of feedback.
So Mr. Ivey, if I could,
Sure.
am I muted?
No, you're not.
Okay. So you've said you asked the question about instructional time. And so I want to just kind of respond to that one more time. Sure. In a sense that when you look at the components of a curriculum, it is what's being taught, what's written, those are our standards, and then what's assessed. And so you can't have one without the other. And so in order to do well with the written assessment, the written curriculum and the taught curriculum, you also need the assessed curriculum to know exactly where your students are. And I think this is where we need to spend a lot more time, because it's not the assessment that is the most important thing. The most important thing about this entire discussion is, now that you have it, what are you going to do about it? Because if you don't have it, Brother Ivey, then that's an issue. That's a major issue. If you don't know where your kids are, that's why we called them temperature checks. We initially called them temperature checks because it's like, when you go to the doctor gives you a series of assessments or tests before he or she prescribes medication. They don't just give you something without doing some type of exploratory work. That's the same kind of concept. And so we are saying that after the assessments are given, that's when the real work starts. That's what I want for my child. That's what I want for every child, that we begin to alter the instruction to meet the needs of every student, and so that every student in CPS can go anywhere, and that we're not judging it based upon the state assessments. That we know this information prior to all of that, so that our children can excel and be high performers anywhere. And so that's what we're excited about. It's the work after, Mr. Ivey, that we're most excited about.
FG wants to know, she has a question. She writes, where is the consideration for those who struggle with test taking? Even if you don't call it a test, anxiety will still show up. So is it really going to monitor? That question's open for anybody that might want to.
Dr. Williams, go ahead.
So we did hear this at the beginning when we brought this information to our teachers. One of the things that we are doing is that in mathematics, it is a multiple choice 5-question assessment. So that is embedded during the day. So for instance, a student can be in a classroom in learning stations. So that's where they might have some direct instruction from the teacher. They might be working on something as it relates to technology and mathematics. That 5-question assessment is just embedded in the station. So it looks like a regular activity for students. So we're not all sitting in rows saying, hello, time for an assessment, get your pencil out. So it's embedded in the culture of the classroom. So that's why I said it's not like a test. I'm checking for understanding all the time. And teachers do that. The research might say that teachers do that 100 times a day. We are just formalizing it because we want, again, it's an equity issue. We want to make sure that we know exactly where every single student is, not just the students that are raising their hands, not just the students who are turning in their homework. We want to know where every student and every seat is so that we can make sure we are giving them what they need so that they can excel in the classroom.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Dr. Williams, because the more we're talking about this, I'm like, isn't that what the teacher's job is, to assess on a daily basis, to ask question, ask Johnny, ask Bonnie, to figure out, to pull them into the conversation. Oh, you don't have your hand up? You're going to answer this question anyway. Isn't that what teachers do every day, is assess? But you kind of spoke to that. You're saying that what the teachers are doing in terms of an informal assessment is not enough. You want something that's down on paper so we can look at a spreadsheet and see where everybody is and hope to be more equitable. Am I understanding that?
So it goes back to what Emily talked about, multiple assessments. So it's the classroom. You need those informal assessments where I'm talking to students, because one assessment, as we know, doesn't tell the story. So as we are collecting, I'm asking who didn't raise their hand, who didn't turn in their homework. The different thing is that during those assessments that you're talking about, those happen every single day, all the time. And we are assessing on those big power standards at the same time. So it's not, again, we're focused on looking at the spreadsheet, but what Dr. Brown really talked about is, now that I've collected some data, multiple forms of data, how am I going to make sure that every student in every seat accelerates their learning? And you can't do that without having some form of data collected, so that you are making sure that you're giving Johnny the right support that he needs and not giving Johnny the support that Karen needs. And the only way you're going to do that is making sure that we use these forms of assessment to give them what they needed.
It's very interesting. Again, I know we just gonna have to agree to disagree. And again, you guys are in this field, so I really should be leaning on you. This is the work that you do. But in my layman's brain, test and assessment are the same thing for all practical purposes. But I'll take your word for it at this point, and we'll have to see how it all shakes out. Going back to you, Dr. Brown, you said that there were some schools that already there were some school buildings that were already in a pilot sort of stage. They started doing this last year, the year before that. Is that correct?
That's correct. That was last year. So the math and the ELA assessments were prepared last school year, even during the COVID. And one of the things that I want to share is that these assessments are aligned to the curriculum, which are aligned to the state standards. And in some cases, they're in math, I believe there are like 5 questions. And in other content areas, the assessments may be somewhat longer, but it's a snapshot of where students are, aligned to the on grade level curriculum that we want every student to master.
Right.
So the expectation is that every student receives on grade level instruction. And let me if I can just expand on that. In many schools, Brother Ivy, when not in COVID, but more so in COVID, when there is learning loss because of COVID, when school starts, many schools, many classrooms will try to assess students the first several weeks of school and do what we call remediation. And remediation is teaching them things that they should have learned the previous year, or what they may have lost over the summer, and then they spend a great deal of time remediating during those first 6 weeks, 8 weeks of school, and then some cases, and then get to the grade level instruction that students should be exposed to. What we're saying is, we're not doing that. We're not remediating students for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. We are providing them with on grade level instruction and ongoing assessments, so that we can have what we call right in time or just in time intervention. And so that we're not spending 2, 3, and 4 weeks on, work that, objectives that they should have learned. Well, we're going to truncate that. And so that we can do that in a truncated time while they're still being exposed to grade level assessment. And that's where, or grade level instruction, that's where the assessments come in, because it assesses where we are according to the grade level instruction. Listen, here's the thing, and we can agree to disagree, but I've been in education for 31 years. I grew up in Avondale, 3362 Reading Road. I went to South Avondale. I was on free and reduced lunch. My mother was a domestic. And the one thing that we had is a belief of high expectations that you can go anywhere with an education. I think Malcolm X said that education is the passport to our future. Those who prepare for it today will succeed tomorrow. This is all about high expectations. It's about ensuring that every child has not only a right to on grade level instruction, but also is being provided with that. So that, again, and if I've repeated this too much, it's only because I believe it. It's because you should be able to go anywhere with instruction and a high school diploma from Cincinnati Public Schools. And notice I didn't say from Walnut Hills. I said anywhere from Cincinnati Public Schools. And I am I believe it in my heart. I demonstrate that in my work. We can agree to disagree, but when it comes to teaching and learning, believe me, I've had some success in my career. And what we're doing is good for kids and good for every child, not just some children, but it's good for every child. And so we can agree, we can disagree, but I do know one thing, that is good for children.
Well, in terms of I appreciate you saying all of that. I think in terms of the loftier goals about making sure that any CPS student coming from any CPS school can go anywhere in the world, we all agree with that. I mean, I personally believe that this city will never reach its potential until CPS does, right? And I'm with you. I'm still not sure that perhaps I don't particularly understand it all. But what I'm hearing so far, I still need to see the results. So are there any results that you can hang your hat on? I know you said you started this in a pilot program last year in some schools. What schools were they? And have you seen any success? You know, any success that you can show us so far? Or is it too early?
So both and number one, so when we look at the assessments that we're talking about, we're looking at two things. We're looking at participation and we're looking at mastery. And we've seen schools that have increased in participation and have shown a steady increase in mastery as well. And we define mastery as 75%. Or is it 80% or 75%?
On the assessment, but it's between 75 and 85%.
So we've seen that, Brother Ivy. And what we have seen is, so we've seen schools at Bond Hill Elementary School. We've seen schools at Frederick Douglass, where students have been excited about student learning, where they've been able to track their own learning, to be able to have conversations with you about where they are and what types of things they need to work on. So we've seen it. And so now we're at this particular point in time where we are expecting to see greater results. Now, I talked about 90-90-90 schools. Those are schools with 90% of free reduced lunch. Those are schools with 90% of the student population of color, but they have 90% of high academic performance. That research is available everywhere. And so that is a model that we are adopting because within those 90-90-90 schools, the common component is on grade level instruction, ongoing assessments, alteration of the instruction to meet the needs of every student so that every student can be successful.
Okay.
That's it.
Last question, Jerica wants to know, what if a student is not meeting the assessment expectation? And there was another question that was kind of on the same path, but it was about, what if you got a significant percentage or portion of a classroom that's not meeting the assessments? What happens then?
Okay. Emily, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So that is the beauty of these assessments. It's the what happens next. And so to answer this question about what if I have half of my class who didn't meet the expectation of the assessment, if that happened in my room and Dr. Williams is giving the same assessment with her students and found particular success, we are able to collaborate, and I can say, hey, Dr. Williams, what did you do, so that I can try that in the next couple of weeks and get better. If I have one or two students who are not meeting the expectation of the assessment, I can individualize supports for that child. So you mentioned at the start of this that you have a first grader in CPS. Well, we know all children, the science says, can learn to read by the end of first grade. And that doesn't mean that that a child doesn't need some sort of individual assistance around learning to read by the end of first grade. So we might be teaching your child phonics so that they're learning the sound spelling patterns. And when they get to OW, that might be of particular difficulty. And so we want to give extra support on top of what your child is already getting. And so really, when we find that our students didn't meet that original expectation, it's about what happened next. We've also seen some really great examples of teachers when they're talking with students and asking what went well in the last 2-week cycle that really helped you master this concept, and where can we improve in our instruction student to get better. And so this isn't about grading and failing kids. This is about making sure that we have checked for understanding on a frequent basis, so that on a frequent basis we can address those misunderstandings and not wait until the end of the year in our high stakes testing.
Okay. Well, Dr. Brown, Dr. Williams, Emily, I really appreciate your time this morning. I'll give whoever the final word. If you want to say something to the audience, I really appreciate it. And I think that, at least for me, I just want to do feedback. I want to do a deeper dive into this, to sort of monitor it. At this point, I'll take your word for it. I'll be honest with you. I'm still skeptical. I'm not really sure that I don't really believe that a bunch of assessments and testing naturally or automatically equates to student achievement. I've never seen that before. I love to see that research, but I hope you're right, because I'm invested. I hope you're right. I hope that it works. I hope that it turns CPS around, or puts us in the direction that everybody wants us to be in. Oh, this is a lot of feedback there. And I wish you nothing but the success in your work. But I'll give anybody who wants it the final word.
So, Mr. Ivey, we do thank you for giving us this time. We want to, again, thank all the listening audience that shared with us through chat messaging. So when you go to your school and go to your child's teacher, you can ask them, how's my child doing in reading? We have a goal of 100% of our first graders reading by the end of the first grade school year. I heard the California state superintendent of California state that their goal is 100% of readers by the third grade. Well, we're very ambitious in Cincinnati Public Schools. We believe our first graders can do it. Our goal is to increase our graduation rate. The last report card we got, it was at 83.2%. Well, our goal is to increase that. Our work is about doing what's best for our students. We're vested in our students. We're vested in every student. And this is just one component. And if we get stuck on 2-week assessments, we've missed the conversation, because it's not about the assessments. It's about what do you do as a result of the information. That's the question. That's the discussion, because that then gives every child an opportunity to be successful based upon what do you do after you have assessed. After you, do you accelerate and meet the child where they are so every child can be successful? That's where we are. We're raising the standards. We are trying to have excellence in every class where failure is not an option. And we can agree to disagree, and we can come back again, Brother Ivey. I like this because it gives us an opportunity to just talk. And but I hope in our talking there's some understanding, because it's not about the testing. It's not about the assessment. It's about altering the instruction so that every child can be successful. That's where we are. So thank you so much for having this team with us today, and for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Have a great day. Yeah, most of that's Dr. Jonathan Brown. We got Emily with us and Dr. Don. I appreciate all of them. They all seem like great people. Like I said, I've told you many times before, I was a partner with CPS. My office was in the CPS school for 5 years. I took the work very seriously. I've never worked so hard in my life. Never worked so hard in my life, man. When other people entrust me with their children, I'm A1. No games played. Everything for the children. So that's a lot of hard work. A lot of good people there. But I was very honest about my thoughts. I'm still on the fence about some of this and testing, assessment. I know there's people in the chop shop that's way smarter than me. Y'all got way more insight. Y'all might be working in CPS right now. So I'll lean on you. However, being the man that I am, I got to be real with you. Just some of it I'm still trying to process. And I just need more time. I need more time. So I'm going to reach back out to Dr. Brown and see if we can't have him come back on the show, maybe in a few months. And again, I applaud CPS for trying something. Everybody wants them to do something. Now they're doing something. So great. You trying something. And I'm willing to give them the latitude to see if it works. But, I can't stop being who I am and thinking. And I read some of the comments, and I appreciate everybody. I thought it was very informative. That's why we do this show and we talk about Cincinnati issues, because it matters. And I'll say what I said again. I mean it, that I just don't think that this city is ever going to reach its apex until CPS reaches its apex. Until we get the best out of CPS, we're not going to get the best out of the city. And I think everybody in this audience, all these good people that was on here, really everybody in the city, generally, I think speaking, wants the best for our children and wants the best for our city. I know I do. So that's the spirit in which I give it. I'm not trying to be super combative. It's a time for that. That wasn't my flow. I'm just trying to be honest. If something don't make sense to me, it don't make sense. So like I said, but there were some things that I think, okay, I get it. In terms of the loftier aspirations, I get it. I still have some question marks, but we'll wait and see. That's their job. Their job is to come up with this kind of stuff and put it in place. Our job as a community is to hold them accountable and then ask for what we think is important. And that's what we're going to do. So my job as a talk show host is on some days to give you a well-rounded perspective in which to view these very, very important issues. Today is no different. So we talk with some folks from CPS. And now we have Kendra Phelps coming on. And Kendra Phelps is the professional issues representatives for CFT. So let's welcome her to the show. Hey, good morning, Kendra. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? Thank you so much for allowing me to come on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. So you are the professional issues representative at CFT. What does that mean exactly? What is your job?
This is my 28th year as a teacher with CPS. The first 16, I taught 2nd and 3rd grade at the Academy of World Languages School. And the past 12 years, I've been serving in this role where I work as a teacher leader, primarily in the areas of teacher evaluation, curriculum, and our career and teaching program.
Okay.
So that's like our developing teacher leaders in CPS.
Okay. I think I understand. And thank you for your time this morning. I really appreciate you coming on the show, because we're just searching for information. Like, I'm not sure if you heard any of the previous conversation. I'll
I
assume that you
did.
didn't, and
I
I'll just say
did.
you
I
did
did.
hear some of.
I
Okay.
did hear some of it. Yeah.
So I've got a child that's just starting and a child that's just about to end, first grader and 11th grader. So I'm heavily invested. From Cincinnati, born and raised, went to CPS school, business and CPS. Everything is Cincinnati for me. So this really, really matters. But as I was speaking with the folks, Dr. Brown, Dr. Williams, and Emily, they were really speaking about the virtues of the 2-week testing cycle. What I'm hoping is not that I want you to, you know, to fact check them or anything like that, but I'm wondering, I want to hear the whole full dimension of all the perspectives on this. So from your perspective, Kendra, what do you think about CPS's plan with the 2-week assessments? Do you think that it leads, well, I won't lead you, but what is your opinion about it?
So the thank you for allowing us to give a well-rounded perspective. And what I want to share is I heard Dr. Brown say it's not about the assessment, but it's about what you do with the data from assessment. And that is absolutely true. But what is happening, unfortunately, in our district, with our district administration, is that they're focusing so heavily on this 2-week assessment testing cycle that is not always aligned to what is going on in the classroom. And so the question, the purpose, that the reason why teachers are speaking up against this is because they are seeing in these 2-week cycle assessments, first of all, testing a child every 2 weeks is not necessarily the way to do it. Formative assessment has always been used in classrooms routinely. This mandate to test every 2 weeks with these district created assessments is a disruption to that. Formative assessment should take place naturally. It should occur as a teacher in the classroom, as a part of my instructional plan. It would occur when my students have learned one portion of the material, and before we go on to another aspect of the learning, I want to know, did they get that first part? And so that's why, and I thought your questions were really right on. Teachers need to be the ones determining when and what formative assessment is being used so that it is in line with their instruction. And so that is not taking up, because these have essentially, in many cases, became those tests that they said that they're not. They take a whole class period for most students, but then our students with special needs, if they have a 504 plan, if they have an IEP, or English language learners, for them, it takes multiple days. And those are days of instruction that teachers are losing with students. And so that's why teachers are speaking up. It's not hard for a teacher to have students sit quietly and take an assessment. But what's hard for a teacher is to see students, one, their time being wasted, and then two, it does impact their social and emotional well-being when you're seeing these assessments. And they pointed out, I want to say something else too. Dr. Brown talked about letters going out from CFT about not to do the assessments. He totally skipped over the fact that our curriculum councils in every subject area, we have a curriculum council comprised of teachers in that content area across the district. They came to the superintendent and her team and said, can we have flexibility? Can we have flexibility to use these assessments when they actually would be proper in the instructional cycle? Not to treat it like our students are on an assembly line in a product. Every 2 weeks, you give this assessment, whether it makes sense in the learning process or not. And teachers were just ignored. Quite frankly, they were ignored. And so that is where this whole disconnect is coming in, not about formative assessment, because we believe most of the things he said, we are in total agreement. Formative assessment is good practice. We also believe that every child should have an opportunity to high quality curriculum and instruction. But I feel like the people who have been disrespected are our principals and our teachers who are on the front line. That's why you have an instructional leader in every building, because they should be going into those classrooms and they should be seeing that teachers are formatively assessing, that teachers are teaching quality, providing quality instruction to students. They said they don't know where students are at and they're learning. Well, the teacher does. And that's who needs to know. To try to collect that at a district level is excessive. And it's a disruption. And the data that they're collecting is not accurate. When asked to the interim superintendent, what about the fact that we didn't cover half of the material, half of these questions are stuff that the class hasn't gotten to yet. They said, well, use it as pre-assessment data. Use it so that, well, like you said, well, I could have told you that beforehand, what those results, were going to be. And so, I think that our district administration, those resources that were provided is a good thing, but teachers should be able to use them when they are appropriate in the instructional plan.
So, speaking with Kendra Phelps, she is with the CFT. She's a professional issues representative. I'm glad you brought up the teachers, and maybe you can speak to this. Maybe you don't feel comfortable, just tell me. But it came to me that, essentially, the administration, CPS was like, look, this is what we want to see, or you up out of here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's very sad. Like, they even told the principals, if you don't discipline the teachers, we're going to discipline you. So it's just a lack of respect for our employees on the front line. It's a lack of respect for teachers as the teacher in that classroom, a lack of respect for principals as the principal in that building. Again, they are doing the real work, but this is micromanaged from the district level, and it's for the district. It is not for the teacher. It is not for the principal. It is for the district.
Well, let me stay there for a second, Kendra. And, a lot of people might say, and I think this could be, a credible argument that, parents, the city, the administration, everybody is sick and tired of CPS not living up to standards, other than a few school buildings here or there. So now they trying something different. Now they want a 2-week assessment. If it's in the interest of the children, what's wrong with that?
Then I say, let's try something that's going to work, right? And we are all smart enough to know that in order to actually increase student performance, we got to give our students what they need. It can't be a cookie cutter model where everybody, like I said, it's like an assembly line. How is this district created test? You're not taking into account the needs of students in specific buildings. How is that going to make a difference? What it's doing is actually the opposite effect. It is taking away valuable instructional time that some of our children have not had in a long time. I know for a fact, for my son, he did remote all last year. He's back in the classroom now. I don't want him sitting there testing constantly. I want him engaged with his peers. I want him participating in some meaningful learning experiences. And so I do think we need to continue to work together in order to increase the rigor, to increase the quality of instruction. But again, the standards for teaching, for the teaching profession, outline that. Principles and our evaluation system and everything should be used in order to continue to grow and develop in that area.
Again, speaking with Kendra Phelps, she's with CFT, the professional issues representative. Kendra, are you currently, and you may have already said this, are you currently a CPS teacher?
I am a teacher with CPS. I am not in the classroom though.
Okay.
I'm a teacher leader with CFT, and
Okay.
I work as a teacher leader. I work with the district level administration on teacher evaluation, curriculum, and our career and teaching program.
So, from your vantage point and with the experience you have and the conversations you have with teachers, is it working? Is this 2-week assessment working? Is it doing what the district is saying that they want it to do? Is it going to lead to student achievement?
No, no, it's not. It's not because it's not aligned and it's taken up too much instructional time. As you pointed out in the conversation earlier, teachers are formatively assessing students. I can formatively assess how my students are progressing with learning by me going around and asking them questions about, to see where they're learning as a part of the learning process. To stop teaching and give these assessments again that get a whole class period. And I want to point out too, it's not just in one content area, it's in every content area. Math, ELA, science, social studies. So our one of the curriculum councils that really showed up and spoke up loud was our K-3 council, because those students are in that classroom with that teacher, and every 2 weeks they have to give a math, a ELA, a science, a social studies, assessment. And it's just too much testing. Testing is not going to do it. Again, he said that it's not about the assessment. So why are they focusing so much on this assessment instead of listening to teachers and having principals talk with their teachers about how do you know how your students are progressing? What are you working on? How do you know how the students are progressing? And and here's the thing that keeps getting left out. What do you need in that school building in order to continue to progress? It baffles me that they could be talking about terminating teachers for not giving this assessment that does not is not what's best for children when they're standing up for their students. When we have 165 vacancies, we don't have substitute teachers when teachers are out sick. My son is at Walnut Hills. He is in the gymnasium multiple bells a day, housed with other classrooms who have no teacher because they had no sub. And so it really is disappointing that at this point, coming out of in the midst of this pandemic and coming back into school in person, that this is what is being held up as the priority.
It's interesting. So you've used the terms interchangeably, and I don't know if I was just getting caught up on it. I mean, I genuinely didn't understand the difference. To me, they are one and the same, or they're so similar that they can be used interchangeably. But I've heard you use it interchangeably.
Yeah.
Testing, assessment. When I spoke with the good folks from the administration earlier, they were stuck on assessment. Assessment is a difference. Even some people in the chat was like, "No, Nate, I got experience. It's a difference. You're a teacher. There's a difference." So, what is the difference?
It is a difference. Assessment is bigger than a test, right? Like I said, teachers, and like Dr. Don Williams said, teachers assess every day how their students are progressing. But a test is where you are having students sit down and have to me, the testing is that these students it's not a natural part of their learning. It is set at a certain time. You sit down, you take, show what you know, because it is the same thing for assessment. Show what you know, but you show what you know, but it's taken a whole class period and then some, for it to happen. And so to me, that is very much like the standardized, it's standardized, right? That's very much like the testing that we have from the state. And I just want to point out too, our students, they have so many tests that they already take. They have the MAP test they take 3 times a year. Our little ones have DIBELS tests. Our high schoolers are getting ready to have semester exams. Like, there is so much testing out there that this should not be the priority. The priority should be what is really going on in the classrooms, what learning is taking place. And unfortunately, that is not what is being built up by building up our principals to be great instructional leaders, by building up our teachers to understand how to scaffold learning, right? So yes, because of the pandemic, our students have some gaps. Well, that is the professional development that needs to occur, is how you scaffold, how you address those gaps.
Yeah, when I was speaking, with the good folks earlier, including Dr. Brown, at the very end, he made a statement. I just didn't have any time to push back on it, but it did strike me as a little bit questionable. And his statement was, and he's listening backstage now. I see you, Dr. Brown. You're more than welcome to stay. But his statement was that it's not about the assessment, it's about what we do afterward. Well, then I start thinking, well, if it's not about the assessment and what you do afterward, kids are already being assessed. They already got all these tests and semester exams and final exams and this exam and this test. And so the response to that is another assessment. I don't think, let me just cross over and make a point here. I know that we can't lock up enough people to deal with our crime issue in the city. And I'm not really sure that we can give us a whole bunch of tests to get to achievement. I haven't seen that yet. And I'm not, maybe I'm just ignorant, which could possibly be, but I just haven't seen that.
And for my son, the more you test him, the more disengaged he also becomes with the whole testing type of situation. He becomes numb to it. He's become numb to it, like another test, and they totally disengage. And that's going to give you bad data as well, because the children are just saying, I'm done. I'm tired of it. I'll click all these bubbles, And let me tell you another reason why I see this as a test and not an assessment. When I am assessing, I am trying to identify exactly what students are having trouble with. I'm trying to get some specific. The teachers submit into this data for the district. They basically submit a 3-2-1. That's all it is 3-2-1. That's not giving specific information about student learning and what students need support with or help with. Teachers just have to put into a spreadsheet, did they get a 3, 2, or 1?
Well, then my other question is, if it's an assessment, to me, if it's going to be effective, and again, I'm no expert, you folks are the experts, but to me, if it's really going to have an impact, then it's got to be individualized. So my question would be, let's say you give an assessment to a student, the student gets whatever, he doesn't get the highest, or he or she doesn't get the highest mark. Is the next assessment that they get standardized, or is it tailored to the unique, issues that student has demonstrated they need in the prior assessment?
They're standardized. And here's the other thing too. They don't show growth because they're not assessing the same skills. It's a different set of skills each time. So you can't even say that there is growth, because you're not, this week, these 2 weeks, it is this content. The next 2 weeks is different content. So that's totally different. And he mentioned Evanston Academy, that blue ribbon school. They don't give them. They give a 6-week assessment every 6 weeks that's measuring the same standards that is preparing the students for the state assessment.
Oh, okay. So Evanston Academy is not doing this?
No, they're not doing the 2-week cycle assessment.
That's what I thought.
We spoke to teachers at Evanston. Prior to this, they had a plan where they worked, and the teachers worked together and developed these assessments. where they give them every 6 weeks. They did a presentation at the Student Achievement Committee board meeting. And I went up and asked one of the teachers about how often they give it. And she told me every 6 weeks. And so then I called another teacher there because I said, certainly they're not doing this every 6 weeks and every 2 weeks, giving these other assessments. And they said, no, they do the assessment every 6 weeks. And that's, again, this go back to, I don't understand why there is a fight. Why isn't it just give teachers flexibility to use these formative assessments in a way that aligns with what they are doing? Or like Evanston, not to use them at all, but they can show how they are using assessment and collaborating.
Very interesting. Somebody wants to know, I just don't understand why now, after these baby students are coming off of having lack of luster education for over a year. Jesse writes, our expectations are so low for our children that it's alarming and sad. See more questions. I want to try to get some questions. I saw some questions coming in. Nat writes, I still haven't heard an alternative plan besides the status quo from CFT. So is there an alternative that the CFT has, or?
CFT says allow teachers the flexibility to use those assessments as they make sense in their instructional plan, and allow principals and teachers to work together to make sure they are addressing the needs of the students.
So here's my question. It sounds like, from what I'm hearing from you, Kendra, that you don't believe that these new assessments / tests are going to lead to student achievement. But do you believe that it will harm the efforts for students to achieve?
Yeah, this mandate will harm it. If you're not allowing teachers the flexibility to use them when they make sense, then it will harm, because what you're doing, you're taking away instructional time and you're not getting anything meaningful when you do that.
Right. Dr. Brown said it's 5 questions, right? So how much time does that really take?
Now, I'll give you an example. One of the 12th grade assessments was a 19-page cold read of Shakespeare. And answering questions. They don't take, they take a whole class period. I even think Emily said that about a class period, that it takes a class period. And I won't say that all of them do, but definitely the ELA typically does take a whole class period. And again, that's not taking into account our students with needs around testing that require extended time. And so they have to be, so our students who have to be pulled out to give the test, to respect the accommodations that they get for testing situations, they're pulled out. They take the assessment the same time that the students in the classroom are taking it, but they have an additional day. The students in the classroom, other students in the classroom, the teacher has moved on with instruction. So now our students with special needs, they are even further behind, because not only are they missing the instructional time in the beginning, but they're missing it when they're getting their accommodations.
Interesting. Well, Kendra, I'll give you the last word. I really appreciate your time. I mean, for parents who are concerned about this, what would you suggest that they do?
So we really are asking parents, students, the community to email the board members, the Board of Education, and the interim superintendent to ask them to stop this just blanket testing mandate of testing every student and every subject every 2 weeks, because they're ignoring the teachers. They're not listening to the feedback from those who are actually doing the work.
There was one more thing. I think Emily said it. She said that it's not just an assessment, but they're learning while they're taking the assessment.
No,
and that kind of struck me as odd. And I'm like, I don't remember taking no assessments like that, but maybe they're doing new things in education.
No, that's not happening. That's not happening. They sit down individually, quietly, and they work on that assessment.
Okay. Well, Kendra, thank you for your time. It's a very complicated issue. I appreciate you helping us unpack this, and let's stay connected.
Thank you so much for having me. The thing we always want to do is collaborate. We believe that that's really when our district is going to go higher, is when we're all coming together, parents, students, teachers, principals, and our district level administration.
Okay. Well, Kendra, have a great day,
You
and
too.
hopefully we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you.
Most def. That's Kendra Phelps, everybody. Man, just let me give it up to all the guests. We leveling up with all our smart, intelligent people that came on this morning. I think that everybody you saw on the screen today cares about CPS, all of them. I would never assume anything different. Again, I worked very closely, very hard as a partner with CPS for many years, and got to work elbow to elbow with these teachers and administrators and all the other folks that make a school building work. Hardworking, salty earth people. I've said it before this day. I'll keep saying it. Just some really good people that go the extra mile. But I want to get your thoughts about this. This is complicated. And I'm trying to figure out where I fall on this. I'm on the fence leaning toward, I still need to see the data that every 2-week assessments is really going to lead to achievement. But at the same time, like I said to Kendra, like everybody's been coming super hard at CPS for not living up to the standards and only having a couple of school buildings that's coming out with, with standardized testing marks and grades that we want to embrace, right? So now they're trying something new. What's wrong with trying something new? However, I think that even when you try something new, it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. It's intent versus impact. I believe this, that the intent for CPS is student achievement. Why would it be anything else? Why would they want to do anything other than put programs and systems in place that would lead to student achievement? I mean, that would make them look bad. It doesn't mean that it will, though. So it's very complicated issue. My daughter, we talked about this. She too many tests, Dad, and that's my general sense of it. And especially when it's taken away from instructional time, it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy on some levels. I heard what Dr. Brown said. He's a very smart guy. They got the right guy to do this interview. he's a very smart man. But I've been doing this long enough. I can hear and see between the lines. I mean, I'm not new to this. And so the loftier goals, we all for that. Everybody agrees with that. Everybody in this room, everybody listening to this broadcast wants our children to be successful, to be college ready, meaning you graduating from college. Everybody wants that, right? And, I'm not mad at the school district for trying something new. I ain't mad at them. I want it to be effective. And I'm still curious as to why now. Like, this is coming from on top, right? This is coming from ostensibly the interim superintendent. Why now? That's still a question mark. And I think, to be fair to everybody, is we're gonna have to take a wait and see approach, unless you got a really strong opinion about it and you want to reach out to the administration at CPS and reach out to the school board members and let them know how you feel and see where that goes. And maybe you want to go out to, or maybe they're doing it virtually now, so you want to go before the school board, either virtually or in person, let them know how you feel about it if you feel very strongly on it. But I think for most of us, we're gonna have to take a wait and see approach. Let's wait and see. In a year or two, let's see if it works. My spider sense tells me, and again, I'm too far away from it to get really, really deep and give you a super strong opinion. You know how I am. I only talk about what I know. And when I'm giving you an opinion, as I'm giving you right now, I always let you know that this is just my opinion, unqualified, fully admit that. But my unqualified opinion is, I don't believe that we can test or assess our way to achievement. I don't believe that. I think testing and assessment is a part of it, but I don't think that's the crucial element that we're missing. That's what I think right now. Just like I don't think locking up a bunch of people with a law and order, lock them up forever mentality is going to decrease the crime rate. It never happens. So I think it's going to be multiple strategies. Perhaps, I'm an optimistic man. Perhaps thinking optimistically, perhaps this will be an element. And then as CPS assesses, right, how well this is working. Maybe they add some other elements of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think parents, the community, the city wants to see CPS move forward. We want to see you do something. We want to see you do something that's going to lead to student achievement, right? This could be a part of it. Perhaps they started this way, and there's further conversation with the teachers and the community and parents, and they tinker it a little bit, right? A lot of things aren't set in stone. They put it in place, and then they tinker it and they change it, they revamp, they edit until they get to where they really want to be. I'm willing to give CPS that latitude. Test and assessment, I mean, I won't go back and forth on that. I'll leave the people that's got way smarter than me on this topic to tell us what the truth is or what's the proper definition is on that case. But I thought it was a very interesting conversation. Very interesting. I'm so glad we got both sides of it because it gave us the balance that I think that we needed. But what do you think? 513-873-7134. Jericho writes, I just don't understand why now, after these baby students are coming off of having lackluster education over a year. I agree with you. Like, we all know what the assessments are going to say. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it could be that this is the exact time to do it. That's the other way of looking at it. There's nowhere to go but up, right? Let's see. I mean, that might fit some agendas or some plans. Either way, I could see that. I could see that being a proper time. I could see that being a good time and a convenient time, depending on a lot of different ways. But I had that question. I try to get your questions in as much as I could. Ray writes, how did we get here? If teachers are consistently assessing on a daily basis, are some teachers not individualizing plans for certain situations? Kevin writes, because some won't do it and our kids will still fail. I thought it was interesting that, and this is just a little sidebar, I've been very critical in the type of discipline that CPS gives to its administrators and teachers that get crazy. They get crazy with our kids and bring their emotions to the classroom. Same with some of these administrators, not doing their job. In some cases, dealing with implicit bias. But I thought it was interesting. This is not a big point. I thought it was a sidebar point that it appears to me, and I did get some information from various sources, that CPS is serious about this. They serious. I mean, I could show you the screenshot of a piece of what appears to be an email that was sent out to CPS principals. Yeah, your boy got all the receipts this morning that is saying, like, look, either you're going to do this or you out of here. You're going to put this assessment in place, you out of here. And I just thought, having dealt with a whole bunch of BS from teachers, that I thought they should at least got to sit down with, and nothing appears to happen, that now this is something that CPS is really willing to put the smack down on teachers about. I thought that was interesting. Even principals. Man, I've heard horror stories. I mean, horror stories from CPS with some of these teachers and some of these administrators. Nothing seems to happen. But if you don't administer this test, your ass got to go. I thought that was interesting. I wish they had that same standard when it comes to some of the behaviors of some of these administrators and teachers as it relates to parents and the students. I love to see that, but that's a whole nother show. You can tell I feel very, very passionately about that. Something to consider. Jericho writes, and I missed this, Jericho. I think it's a really good question. Are parents able to opt out of these assessments? Does she believe that these assessments has anything to do with funding? As I understand it, they are not tied to funding. I don't know about that, Dr. Brown. That the same standard, the same concept might be in place, but that fire ain't behind it. It is not the same, sir. It is not the same. Not even a little bit. I can tell you personally on that one. There's too many horror stories out there with CPS. And like I said, I've been around teachers and I've been around parents talking low, talking in whisper, don't say nothing because we might get retaliation and all this kind of stuff. With the former superintendent, remember myself and Donnie B, we did a joint show. We talked to her and I said it, I was like, you got parents and teachers that's running around here like CPS is the mafia, afraid to speak full-throated with their chest because they're afraid of what might happen, black and white. And I'm like, what? I ain't doing none of that. With my child, it ain't never happening. Jenny's out. Good morning to you, Jenny. Thanks for being here. Janice writes, in classroom, teachers should be the ones directing students, not the administrators. I mean, you know, when you work at CPS or work for CPS, administrators administrate, teachers teach. That's the way the game is set up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would agree with you. And again, I'm sitting in this chair. I'm not sitting in the administration chair. So I don't know what they're dealing with. I don't know the information that they have. I don't have their lens. Let's say that. If I was in that place, I might be speaking differently because I've got a different vantage point, a different lens. I got different experience. But as I sit here, Janice, what you're saying rings true to me. You know, if it were me, I would weigh heavily on what the teachers say. Now, that's one way of looking at it. As I said earlier, though, if they've already been doing that and we're still coming up short in terms of, you know, the achievement that everybody's looking for, you can't fault CPS for trying something new. Now, we don't want you to try some dumb-ish, right? We don't want you to waste our time and waste our children's time and instructional time on, you know, some hypothetical-ish. We don't want that, but I think everybody wants to see CPS try something different. What are you going to do different? Try something new. Is the assessment, 2-week assessment, the way it's currently constructed, it? If you're asking me to ask you a question based upon what I've heard this morning, I would say no. But again, I keep saying that's an unqualified opinion from the dude. I do a talk show. I'm not in the classroom every day. But that would be my opinion. I mean, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Let me see. Drop writes, who is President Biden's Secretary of Education? Hold on, I'll look it up for you. Let me Google it for you real quick. I forget the man's name. Here it is, Dr. Miguel Cardona. Dr. Miguel Cardona. And I think some people were looking for him to put a moratorium on, you know, some of the standardized testing coming from the federal level, which, as I understand it, he did not entirely. So there was a little bit of disappointment around that. If I'm wrong about that, set me straight. But I believe I'm on point. Susan, this is super long. I can't even read all of this. Sounds like the district is attempting to standardize curriculums. The teachers have been teaching whatever they individually determine that the students need to learn. I don't think that's true. I don't think the teachers are just making it up on their own. No, there's standards. There's a curriculum council that she talked about earlier. I don't think that's true. Each one in their own professional manner. I don't think that's true, Susan. But the assessments, measure whether that teaching lines up to what has been determined that the students need to have mastered by each bi-weekly juncture in order to be potentially successful in taking the mandatory standardized testing as it schedules time. It just makes sense to me. But once you assess and you realize that there are disparities, then what? That continues to be my concern. Yeah, I mean, the latter part of it, I agree. I don't believe that's true. If I'm wrong about that, somebody set me straight if you got more information. I don't think the teachers have been teaching whatever they individually determine that the students need to learn. I don't think that's how that works. I don't think it works that way. Kamika writes, parents are certain that there is learning loss due to the pandemic, but don't want to formalize assessment to acquire supporting data. That makes no sense to me. Well, I think as a parent, I'm concerned if it's worth the time away from instructional learning in the face of all the other tests and assessments that they're already doing. You know, my question is, don't you got enough tests and assessments? That's part of it. Don't you have enough tests and assessments? You've already got all these tests and assessments. So the response to the tests and assessments the CPS students are already dealing with is another round of assessments. That don't seem practical to me. They don't seem practical to me. So I'm trying to put my head around this. William writes, aren't the assessments going to tell you where the gap is so you can address the gap there and enrich the area that they are thriving in? Ostensibly, but don't we already have that? with the assessments and tests that we have already? Again, we're going to find out. See, that's the one thing about this conversation, family. We're going to find out. Oh, for sure, William. We're going to find out because time is going to tell us. At the end of this school year, going into next year, CPS is going to have it's going to be like the incoming city council. The incoming city council and the incoming mayor, they ain't got no excuses. You got all the tools. Same with CPS. Come this time next year, y'all gonna have to tell us something. Because now you got a whole new round of assessments that you told us was gonna be like the holy grail of assessments. And we'll be looking to see what you put in place to address what the assessments tell you. So time is gonna tell us that. That's one thing we're gonna know, but that goes back to what parents, as a parent, I don't have time to waste while you turn the classroom into a petri dish to figure out what's gonna work. Now, is that impractical? I don't know. Dolores writes, equity is important. This appears to be a one-size-fits-all solution. It lacks diversity, equity, and inclusion. We will lose teacher and staff behind this. Continuity of care is crucial for learning. Yeah, like I said, Dr. Brown is a smart man. They got the right person. Somebody wants to know, how did the pilot schools do? What schools was it? And Dr. Brown kind of spoke for that. They got the right person to come on the show. He's the right spokesman because he's very, I won't say articulate because some people might take this the wrong way, but he knows how to communicate. We'll put it that way. He knows how to communicate. But so do I. I've been doing this a long time, long time, and that's why I was asking about the assessment. Is it individualized? It appears from the conversation that it's standardized. And so if you get a kid that's got weak scores on one assessment, they just move on the next assessment. They don't retest it. They just move on. That's what I think I heard this morning. But again, as Drop says, he's going to love me quoting him. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. They may start this way at CPS and edit and pivot, add to it, take away from it based upon what they think works and doesn't work. And I think, okay. Maurice writes, it is the mafia. Yeah, I said that. It was so interesting. I said that to the former superintendent. She didn't bat an eye, y'all. She didn't even blink. You know what that told me? That ain't the first time she heard it. Plus, we now know she had one foot out the door. She was leaving CPS. She was like, later for all this BS, I'm going somewhere else. Y'all don't appreciate me hearing all this nonsense. But when I said that to the former superintendent, like, you know what? I talk to teachers and parents that talk in hushed tones. They're afraid to speak up about administrators. They're afraid to challenge what's happening in the classroom because they're afraid that there might be some get back on their child. She didn't bat an eye. She was straight on that business. That told me she had already heard it before. And wasn't nothing new. Dolores writes, teachers and administrators are being threatened and harassed. Mental health is real for the children and the staff. CPS will also lose families as well as staff. Both are necessary. I can show this to you. This was a screenshot from an email that was sent to the principals. And this is the discipline model. Hold on, let me make sure. This is what was sent to them. Now, apparently this model, from what Dr. Brown was saying, this model has already been put in place, but this was sent out to the principals like, look, if you or them teachers don't do this, follow this road right here. We're gonna take care of that. And like I said, I just wish they had that same fire about the bad behavior that's displayed by some teachers and administrators. Let me see here. Here we go. You want to see this? I'll show it to you. I will show it to you. Let me take some stuff out of here. We gotta. Okay. And this ain't no biggie. I mean, it's just like a little 4-step model. But just so you know, can you see that? Let me see if the camera's going to catch up to it. Oh, boy. I don't know if you can see that or not. There it is. You see that? No, you can't see it. So let me do this then. You can't see that. Don't even front like I see it, Nate. You can't see it because I can't see it on the screen. Hold on 1 second, and I'll put it on the screen here in just 1 minute. Apparently, this is the model that's put in place for teachers and administrators, and then it was sent out to the principals like, look, let your people know. We ain't joking. You better get them assessments in here. You better get them in now. If not, you're going to be looking for a job at a time when we need all the teachers we can get, I think. Hold on 1 second. I might have sent this somewhere crazy. All right, there it is. I thought it was very, very interesting. Just a good conversation all the way around. Hopefully we can learn something from it. Okay, let me see here. Okay, I'm going to put this on the screen. This was sent out ostensibly, allegedly. This is what from a source that I was told. Okay. So just take it for what it is. And this is just part of the email right here. Check this out. Boom, there it is. You better listen. You better get that test in here. Listen. We said 2-week testing. I'm sorry, assessments. All right. And this is what we going to do. Now, you want a job or you don't want a job? This is what's happening. And I'm like, at a time like this, but again, I'm not in CPS administration. I mean, you know, when you crack the whip, you crack the whip. It is what it is. Let me see. Rachel writes, it sounds to me the CFT does not want any input from the administration. What is the proposed solution from CFT to overcome the issue? I might have missed her solution. She said that basically allow the teachers to integrate the assessments where they think that they would best fit. That's what they were saying. And Kendra sent me a message. She said teachers want to be a part of the conversations. That's definitely what she said. She said that teachers want to be the kind of part of the conversation, but you know, that's how that got. Listen, the boss is boss and workers work. Teachers teach, administrators administrate. You already know. Administer, whatever the correct term is. I'm all cut up with terms today, so I don't know. But listen, looking at the clock, it's about that time. I really appreciate you. Please like and in particular share this show so as many CPS parents and people that care about this issue can see it. And I will not be back in Better Than Ever with you tomorrow. I'll be traveling at this time tomorrow. I plan to be back with you. Maybe I'll do a show later in the day tomorrow. Kendra writes, but it's the teacher that sees the impact on the students. I may do a live stream later tomorrow. Thanksgiving, no live stream, and look for a live stream on Friday. Who knows? I got the capabilities with this phone. I can go live anywhere in the world as long as I can get a signal. So we'll see. I'm taking equipment with me. So if I'm able to set up and do what I normally do, then I will. But just keep your eyes on your feed. And if you get a notification, boom, we doing it. At the very least, I might just do an audio podcast, something like that. All right. So have an excellent rest of your day. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, if you don't, and maybe it's a day off for you, you get a chance to relax and unwind, take it. Take that time, right? Enjoy yourself. Maybe you're going to be getting together with family. As I said before, I just want to put this in your ear. I mean, think about disrupting the family conversation, this Thanksgiving. Okay. Think about disrupting the family conversation. And, maybe you inject a conversation about life after death planning. As you know, my mother recently passed away. We laid her to rest, last weekend. And Chairman Mom was a smart woman, and she had her things in order. All we had to do as her offspring was to get our hands on the right papers. Once we did that, everything else fell into place. It was a smooth transition. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't think about life after death. So I'm urging you, I'm just suggesting to you, because you're smart, intelligent people, that perhaps that's a conversation that you have this Thanksgiving. Secondly, wealth building, Black wealth building. Like, who better to go in business with than the members of your own family? Who better to start like a little investment club than the members of your own family? Start an investment club with your mama and them, your cousins, them, your brothers and sisters, your nieces and nephew. Start an investment club with them. Maybe y'all start I don't know. Maybe y'all you're gonna go into Bitcoin. Maybe something like that. some of these digital properties. Why not? If you live in Ohio, marijuana is going to be legal for recreational purposes real soon. Get in the ground level and get you a little something, get you a little piece of that pie. It's going to be plentiful. So maybe disrupt the family conversation. No, we just catch up and we talk about football. We play video games and we just eat turkey. We have sweet potato pie eating contests and things like that. But maybe disrupt the conversation with some of these suggestions. And last but certainly not least, dealing with old issues with your family. Dealing with old issues. A lot of people got old issues with their family, things that was said, things that was done that you still hold on to. While the people are alive, give them their flowers while they're alive. Don't wait until afterward, because tomorrow is not guaranteed for any of us. And you got some issues, say it. You got something you need to clarify with your family members, pull them to the side. You know what I'm saying? Over a plate of, greens and some sweet potatoes or whatever you eat. I'm on that vegan kit, so my Thanksgiving is going to be a little different. It's going to be yummy nonetheless. But pull them to the side and say what you got to say to them while the people that you love most are still alive. And I'll leave you like that. Have an excellent rest of your Tuesday. I wish you nothing but the best over the holiday, and we'll catch up real soon. Remember our motto. Let's say it together. Well, there's power when we say it together. Winners focus on winning, and losers focus on winners. So stay focused, stay winning, and we'll talk real soon. Until next time, I'm Nathan Ivey, and I'm out.
Critics like I heard you, so what? You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. Tally all the I ever gave on my head. Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a that's what they don't understand.
I'm back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a I don't care. Did the for my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share. Get on my God, on my totem it's nothing. In the discussion, for the feelings I throw on my pain on percussion. The disgusting. I hear them bragging about that they did, and it do not move me, not in the least. They ain't been dropping no seeds in the soil, but swear that you all my spot at the feast. I've been on go mode, show mode, showboat, rowboat, wave ride, cool shorty.